All right, good. So I put in the chat the order in which people showed up, more or less. I was trying to keep up. So Rajiv, Rochelle, Nedra, and then Scott. Well, we'll do 3 minutes. Give us an update, what's going on, what your best leads are, how we can help you, any new epiphanies. Why don't you start us off, Rajiv?
Awesome.
And I will I'm going to go into, so if everybody else would go on mute, I'm going to go into speaker mode. So the speaker gets the biggest screen.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, thank you, Michael. Nice to see you all. For those that don't know me, my name is Rajiv Jadhav. I work for R Square Media. We're an online visibility and reputation management company that helps clients be seen or not be seen online. Incidentally, that's our tagline as well, which is, I'm happy to say, is a registered tagline with the USPTO. So yay. As far as what we do, the be seen part of what we do is essentially SEO on steroids, which is helping clients be visible very prominently on platforms that they care about, like Google, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, et cetera, et cetera. So we're essentially helping clients not only create the content, which could be a social media post, a video, a website, et cetera, but we're also helping to position that asset prominently so that when the client's ideal customer or prospect is looking for that service, puts in that keyword, that asset then comes up prominently on Google page one or page one of the platform that they care about, like Facebook or YouTube or other platforms. So that's the be seen part of it. The not be seen part of it is basically when we're rescuing clients from the unfortunate predicament that they sometimes find themselves in when dealing with misinformation about them or their company or their significant other on Google. And we basically deal with this misinformation by deleting it from Google. So the misinformation encompasses bad press, bad reviews, private information. So small story, a client reached out who was in the job market, and the company withdrew the offer. It was a high six-figure offer because it was a case of mistaken identity. They thought she's a criminal because when they Googled her, the person that comes up looks like her, has the same first name, different last name, but that person has a criminal record, and they thought she has a criminal record. So yeah, we don't want to hire people with criminal records. And they retracted the offer. So we helped her by getting that link deleted from her Google search, which was related to her name. And she was then able to salvage that situation. So that's a small example of how something relatively benign looking can cause a lot of damage. And we make it really easy for clients to work with us in two ways. One, we work with other agencies so they can white label us. And secondly, we have a success guarantee. So if the outcome is not realized, the client gets a refund. So it's like very simple and easy for us to work with. My ask is for introduction to people in marketing, as well as attorneys that work in entertainment and sports, because sometimes the clients might be running into this issue, and this issue is holding up the deal. And if the deal doesn't get closed, no one gets paid. So that's why me being on the radar of people like that would continue to make them look like a rock star to their clients. So that's my ask. And I would love to reacquaint myself with many of you if I haven't spoken to you recently. And I'll put my Calendly in the link. So thank you for your attention and have an amazing rest of the week. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Rajiv. Rochelle Lisner. Rochelle, you're probably on mute.
Gotcha. It's Rochelle from Dynamic Business Growth, and I always say it's dynamic business growth and not schlep along business growth. And I find that so many companies have a very rough time talking about their business in a compelling way. So they'll start off by saying, my name is John. I'm doing this for 45 years. I'm located in Midtown Manhattan, and I couldn't care less. So that's one very typical scenario. Another scenario is somebody that goes, they have a presentation, they try to put a size 10 foot of information into a size 6 shoe. So I had a really very good friend of mine. He did in financial services, and that's already difficult. And he invited me to hear one of his presentations in the morning, and I went, and he said, Rochelle, what'd you think? And I was like, if I was, if I had the ability, I would have given you a summons to get me up at, 6 o'clock in the morning, to get on, to commute, to get into this, to see this presentation at an early hour, and what you gave, and the amount of information, and you were long-winded, boring, and didn't tell a compelling story. You should be fined for this. That's how bad it was. So you don't want people to think of you in that way. You want to tell a compelling, interesting, funny story. And I want to know, how did you pull a rabbit out of a hat? So when you tell a story of your high-level expertise, you get to position yourself as, oh my God, your high-level thinking. I want to know a lot more about that. Pretty please tell me more. So creating some of these dynamic stories is where I've done, I can't even tell you how much work. I do a lot of work in financial. Financial is, they're great if you have insomnia. They're perfect because you can listen to somebody for 2 minutes and you'll be honking and snoring in a moment's notice. So if you do suffer from insomnia, just record anybody's presentation and that will no longer be a problem. So financial services is a big one because it's a very competitive market and they're not good at just telling something of interest. That's one area. Another area is just anything like banking, accounting. That's another good one. Numbers tell a story. It's a shame that they don't know how to. So this is another area that I've done a lot of work with. So if you are dealing with presentations, this is so important for pitch decks. If you want somebody to write you a check, especially to the tune of, hundreds of thousands of dollars, you've got to be able to speak into a dynamic presentation and tell a great story. So my ask is startups that are looking for money, especially major money, because they really need to be able to have a great pitch deck, because I do pitch decks with somebody and I train people into speaking into them. Or anybody, I do a lot of work with all these marketing, because if you're opening up a new website, if you have a marketing campaign, you're in the trajectory growth, you're in the growth mode. And if you're in a growth mode, we complement each other's services. So that's for me for today.
Thank you. I just got a call and I'm just going to send a message. Okay. Sorry for that. Thank you. Okay. Nedra Rezinas.
Hi, I'm Nedra Rezinas, and am I the only one from the West Coast here? I'm from Portland, Oregon.
I don't know. Let's see. I
Okay.
think, no, David Libby's in the West Coast.
Okay.
And Audrey Glover's on the South Coast.
Okay. And one of the things that I really enjoy helping my clients with is actually getting off of social media or reducing it. So I'm a marketing strategist and coach that doesn't focus on social media. So it's a little different story. Actually, I have a presentation coming up on marketing without social media this Thursday that's seeming to be very popular. I've talked on it a few times and it's done very well. And so who do I work with? Well, they're usually service-based businesses that either they're doing nothing with their marketing, they're thinking about it all the time and they're stressed out, but they're not doing anything, or they do it sporadically. They say, oh, I posted a few things, I sent out a newsletter, but it's just all random. And it's like, well, you got to be consistent. You got to show up, and it's not rocket science, but you got to have a plan. So helping them create a plan that aligns with their values, that helps them actually take charge and take action, and usually involves hiring some people to get things done, maybe a web designer or a virtual assistant to help them get this action in place. And so what I love doing is these VIP days with clients where I actually just focus a whole day on them, understand what their business is, and help them implement some marketing activities for the next 3 months, like a 90-day plan that's custom to them to actually take action. And I've had some success helping clients, and they are now moving ahead, very happy in their business and rediscovered their business, which is great. So my pillars of focus are usually on email marketing. I think that's a nice alternative to social media. Speaking and education, which is wonderful and can be really helpful for people who I tend to work with a lot of introverts. So that can really be a good asset. And then also just focusing on referral partners and networking. You know, we're getting back into this third year of pandemic, but we're starting to see more and more people wanting to meet in person, and that can be really a great way to network and get off the social media. And referral partners, a lot of my clients rely on them, and so do I. So it's nice to be able to keep top of mind and show love and attention to those folks. So that's what I do.
And you are based in California? No,
Portland,
Oregon.
Oregon.
Portland, Oregon. That's right.
Other direction, yeah.
Well, it's all on the West Coast.
Oh, I know.
Wonderful. Thank you. And can you give us some examples of types of clients? Are they like professionals?
Yes. I work well with coaches, interior designers, realtors, professional organizers, stylists, you know, those folks that are out there in the world doing what they do best, but just are drowning in them and trying to figure out how to do their marketing and really need some guidance and help. And someone who is not going to just throw them into Instagram reels and force them to do things they don't want to do. That's not my style. I'm actually pretty patient and hand-holding, and I'm a good support system.
Do you actually deliver the services, or is it more like?
No, that's where I come into helping them hire the right people. Actually, I'm just talking to someone right now about they're really teeter-tottering on hiring a web designer, and like, let's talk first. I can save you thousands of dollars and not spend money on a website or redesign a website when you really have no business doing that. You should focus on these parts of your business.
Right. Good. Well, thank you. And how was it that we connected? Obviously, we were introduced.
Sophie Michaels, I think, introduced us over at LinkedIn.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thanks to Sophie. Okay. Scott, then Stacey, then David. Scott Lange, you're up. Probably unmute, Scott.
Well, I wasn't on mute. You muted me. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome, Nedra and David from the West Coast. And I don't know who's from the South Coast. I missed that. But, oh, Audrey, right. We've spoken before. So it's not complicated. I'm in partnerships and alliances. I am focused on things that help businesses grow. They could be digital marketing, events marketing, you know, anything really in the in the marketing mix. So from the standpoint of how I go about forging partnerships and alliances, besides the old-fashioned outreach initiatives that one has to do, whether it's email, you know, phone, pressing the flesh in in-person events that are coming back, or in Zoom events like this. I, you know, am basically creating solutions selling to create the partnership. So it's not really just representing a property and saying, hey, I think you're interested or could be interested in this, and just, you know, sending a list of bulleted basic benefits like, you know, you get your logo here or there. People are looking for a lot more than that, as you all know. They're really looking for engagement. They're looking for building relationships. They're looking for building their, you know, a CRM or, you know, some other really strategic objective. I'm going to send to everyone in the chat a couple of examples that you can look at your leisure. How do I do this? I just, oh, here it is. There we go. So the first example that I sent in the chat is a program that Michael mentioned the last time, which has now finally been announced and finally out there, which is called the UPS Ignite program. So I put together United Parcel Service with the Black Entrepreneur Initiative, which is a SaaS platform for knowledge, tools, and support to help BIPOC entrepreneurs, Black, Indigenous, and people of color, and women. We do women in there as well. I'm also seeking partnerships for the Greater New York Chamber of Commerce. I'm in negotiation right now with a major enterprise bank to sponsor Black History Month awards. I didn't hit chat.
You didn't hit return. I didn't show up in the chat. Oh,
you
yeah, it
see
did.
it
I'm
now?
sorry. Yeah, now it did. Yes, I'm sorry. Yep.
Okay. All right. So anyway, I know that 3 minutes isn't a long time. So these are just a list of some of the properties, and what I'm working in terms of taking it to some broad silos is my background was advertising agency, music marketing, sports marketing for 25 years. And so those are the sort of tranches that I work in. And then it's pretty much right now focused on entrepreneurs, basically with the SaaS platform, directly with entrepreneurs through the Greater New York Chamber, and then some other outlying programs. The one I didn't have time to put in here is I'm working with a company called, or an organization, a nonprofit called ProVet, which is a transition teaching program for veterans to transition into working. So it's work skill development. And then additionally, some other more, kind of just loose fruit out there, no pun intended, with on one end of the spectrum, the World Pro Ski Tour, on the other end, Jake Parker Baked Goods, Sacred Heart University, looking for title sponsorship of some venues, and Survival of the Shawgunks is sort of a pet project, which if you look at that link, you'll love it. It's a 58-mile, 8-stage triathlon, which is a very unique and rare event in the United States. It's the only one of its kind. So I really just marry brands with stuff.
Thank you. And you've had a great track record of doing it. I know that you started doing that with the New York City Marathon.
Actually, I started doing it in 1982 with Devo in 3D. And Duke Ellington's Sophisticated Ladies Live from the One-Time Fame Theater, and The Who Closed Circuit.
Wow, it goes back.
Yeah, well, I was executive producing live concerts in television, but that's
history. All right, thank you, Stacey. Then David, then Mark. Stacey, you are up. You're probably on mute. If I put everybody on mute, so.
I am Stacey Mathis, and I own a website called Legal Copywriting Central. And basically what we do is we craft marketing material for lawyers and for companies that sell products and services to lawyers. What we do actually is when we work with attorneys, what we try to do a lot is to help them humanize themselves. Right now we're working with personal injury attorneys, and we're trying to, if you go to a personal injury lawyer site, they all sound very different. Even the ones who say, here's why we're different. And then they list their features and they're exactly what the other guy said. So we're trying to get, when we work with attorneys, we try to get them to look beyond just the accolades and the educational background and the things that the usual recitation of, boringness that you see on their sites. So that they connect with, so that the people who land on their sites, who are really in vulnerable states at that moment, they're very emotional, they connect with them. And lawyers have a hard time doing that. So we, twist their arm and make them do it. And, it works out really well for them in the end. We also work with companies that sell to lawyers, case management companies, technology companies. A lot of the companies work only with lawyers, like for Silverlink is a client of ours that works primarily with attorneys who have with one of the parties in are involved in divorce, and one of the parties is struggling with alcohol. So that's where they come in. There are a host of other companies, apps and platforms, online platforms that work with this Hello Prenup and Hello Divorce, and just it's endless. So anyone who's trying to appeal to an attorney, there's a certain way that you have to make, to convince an attorney to, open his wallet and give you his money. He has to, it takes a lot of convincing, and you have to understand there are nuances and certain ways that you have to couch things so that they get it. You know what I'm saying? It's not like talking to the average Joe. So we help them with that as well. So it can be through video scripts, brochures, press releases, landing pages, advertisements, online, offline, billboards, doesn't matter. Anything you use to sell and to market and promote your services and or your products, we can write for that tactic.
Well, Stacey, is your background in legal? Were you a
Yes,
lawyer or paralegal?
yes,
or-
no, paralegal for 1,000 years. And I was born a paralegal. Yeah, primarily in high conflict litigation, high conflict divorce cases. So yeah.
And do you know Michael Meyer? He's a photographer, does a lot of work in legal.
I did. I had a coffee date with Michael Meyer. I don't know him, but I met him, I believe, through Rochelle Lisner.
Okay, yeah, he's a good guy in the legal space.
I thought he was a member of this group, actually.
He is not very active though,
I see.
but yeah, you could find him under photography.
Yeah, he's got some great work.
Yeah, and he does a lot of work with in the legal, a lot of work in the legal space. That's
He
probably
does.
his biggest
Yes.
market. Okay.
Stacey, do you know anyone at Hughesby? They're an outsourced deposition company. They've been around for quite a while. It's
No, I've never heard of Hughesby. I've never heard of them.
HUSEBY. My sister's the national accounts manager there, and check them out if you're interested. Connect with me, and I will introduce you to Pamela.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mark.
Sure.
What it's all about. Okay, let's see. David Libby, then Mark Iorio. David, you are up.
Thank you, Michael. Hey, everybody. So here's a story. So most recently, we had a B2B tech company come to us, and the CEO said that he wanted to be acquired by Google or by Microsoft. And so what we did was we helped him redo his messaging. We took that messaging, we helped him author articles and get press in publications we knew Google and Microsoft were reading. And we pitted them against one another, so much so that they fought over the company, and ultimately Google won the bid and acquired the company.
Wow.
We accelerate startups to their exits. That's what we do. We use public relations, content, and social media marketing to help these B2B tech companies in big data, cloud computing, artificial intelligence, and more get much quicker to their exit, whether it's an IPO, acquisition, or something else. And that's me.
I think I want to hire you.
I want to hire you too.
All
Hey,
right,
David,
accelerate
what's the typical size of the companies you work with?
We work with companies that are on average 10 to 49 people that are Series A, that have funding between $2 and $5 million.
That was a great story that we can really get a sense of what you do. So that was a good one.
Thank
Two
you.
thumbs up.
You are my inspiration, Rochelle. Thank you.
And David's one of his first success stories was helping Steve Jobs sell Pixar to Disney.
Yep.
That was, I think, before you sort of formalized your independent business, or were you already?
That was before. Yeah,
right.
that was before. And like Stacey, I've been doing my business for 1,000 years, you know.
So actually, bringing that up, you know, we have a webinar series that's going to be the third Wednesday of every week, 5 p.m. Eastern, and the first one is on conquering ageism with a portfolio career. So if anybody has been working for 1,000 years, it might be appropriate. All
There's
right,
the
cool.
answer. Connect with other people that have been working 1,000 years and there's your network.
I do a lot of that, exactly. Yeah, because they've got lots of experience.
Yeah.
All right.
Maturity is good. Thank you,
Maturity
Michael.
is good. Absolutely. All right. Let's see. Stacey, then David, then Mark Iorio, then Audrey.
I'm Mark Iorio, and I've been doing this for 35 years, and I live in New Jersey. Is that good, Rochelle? I'm just kidding. I have a cool business. It helps organizations align their people with their purpose. It's called BCAT Partners. We start with this really different incorporating question. Imagine your entire organization as though it were a single person doing its best work on its best day to deliver all of its promises and achieve all of its goals. What does that look like? We have an exercise instrument that my partner and I developed. It's proprietary. And there's words in there. They're word associations. So as you're imagining this organization, part of your frontal cortex is actually the quadrants in your frontal cortex light up. There's 4 quadrants, basically innovation or energy or, creativity. There's harmony, there's precision, and there's resolve or driver. And everyone sort of goes at it a little differently. Everyone sort of answers the questions a little differently, but we end up with an average of where everyone sees this organization going or aspiring to be. That may not be exactly where you want to go as an organization, but will allow you to land there as an average. And then we take you to a different place on that map. And what falls out of that are a series of aligned inspirations or codes of conduct or behaviors that the organization as a whole, every single person, from the person that mops the floors and answers the phones to the CEO, and every single person sees those codes of conduct, and we pass that around, and then we allow them to come back to us with a personal alignment plan that says, these are the 2 or 3 things that I believe I can do each and every day to get closer to this North Star or this role target that we've aspired to be in this company. What's it do for the company? It breaks down silos. It allows you to work in a more collaborative way. It gets rid of that passive aggressive behavior that's within the organization. Allows you to work in a more productive way and much more profitable way. We've done 11,000 of them over the last 10 years. My partner's Alcini. Love what we do. It's very gratifying. You see organizations and people become better versions of themselves every day. We have coaches that help us make sure that everyone stays on that personal commitment. And usually it takes anywhere from 6 months to 3 years to get to where they want to go before they exit the process.
And what does a typical program cost?
Oh, Michael, it varies. First of all, thank you for having me.
Of course.
It varies. I mean, it depends on the size of the company. I mean, a low end, low end could be 15 to 25,000. The high end could be hundreds of thousands. But it's a game changer for companies. It changes the whole trajectory of the organization.
Okay.
And I've got great stories to tell, not like David's stories, but I've got great stories to tell.
Yeah, absolutely. It reminds me of the culture within Toy Story, which I guess needed to change. That was one of Pixar's first big hits, right?
Yeah, sure.
All right, let's go on. We'll move on. Audrey Glover Dichter, you're up.
Hi, is your marketing working for you or against you? Hi, I'm Audrey Glover Dichter. I'm an attorney and my practice focuses on advertising, marketing, and promotions law. So I review all your marketing assets for legal compliance in English and Spanish. And I start with advertising law under the Federal Trade Commission because it is a federal field. So I can help clients anywhere in the country or abroad to be legally compliant in the USA for marketing, especially websites and online marketing. And so your social media campaigns are excruciatingly important because you're at that point now, you need to be compliant, not just with advertising law, federal and state, and sometimes local, like New York City, but you also need to be legally compliant for privacy law issues and ADA online compliance. And when I review, I also review for intellectual property issues, like, are you infringing, or do you have something that needs to be protected? So do we need to file a copyright or a trademark? Or do you have the right licensing for that music, that video, that photo? And is your licensing the right level of licensing agreement? Or do you need to draft a licensing agreement? Or are you going to be using online reviews? And I mean, there's just so much that goes along with your marketing. And every time you use anything that has to do with marketing, it should be legally compliant before it gets launched publicly per the Federal Trade Commission. So you should really have everything reviewed, because you don't want to get caught in a lawsuit or get warning letters from federal or state agencies, or even get challenged in self-regulatory bodies around the country. So that's me in a nutshell. And I do give 15 minutes free consultations. And yeah, the rules in the USPTO and the Copyright Office are changing. We have new laws and new regs are coming out. And one of the biggest complaints was that like Rajiv said, it's not fair that people file and they get protection and then they don't use it. The only way you can maintain the protection is if you're actually using that trademark or whatever it is that you have, either copyright or trademark, and it's being used in commerce. If it is not being used in commerce, and you can challenge it and try to get rid of it so that now somebody else can have it, like Rajiv. Thank
Wonderful.
you.
I have a question. So is most of your business from people who are get in trouble and it's after the fact and they say, oh my God, I need to change this, or I got a letter, or somebody's challenging my ADA compliance or whatever?
Yes and no. So my best recommendation is, let me help you be legally compliant before you launch publicly, right? So that's always the best way of doing things. A lot of times, unfortunately, what I find is I cater, I work mostly with small, medium businesses, because, the big businesses have their own army of attorneys, plus they work with the big firms, so they don't need me. But unfortunately, this is one of those fields of law that what you don't know will hurt you. So that's why I speak a lot, and I try to do a lot of CLEs, and I try to do a lot of online talking, like I try to do the masterclass series on advertising law. And I get that that's not something that advertising people really need, because the advertising agencies and PR agencies, you guys already know that, right? But the problem is your client doesn't know it. So that's where I get pulled in to these cases to help those companies and those clients that don't know better and needs to have that legal review, because the advertising agencies don't want to be legally responsible for launching something that's not legally compliant, right? And especially when you start drafting legal documents, for example, if you're doing a website and you start drafting legal documents, or you start copy and pasting legal documents from other websites or from wherever on the internet, on privacy policy, terms and conditions, disclaimers, disclosures, cookie policies, now you're going to run into trouble, because it's not drafted to protect that particular business, because every business is different. So the needs for every business is different. So your privacy policy and all your legal documents should, reflect that, and should be there to protect you, your business. And you can't do that when you just copy and paste. And then also, when marketers do that, they're opening themselves up to legal liability for drafting legal documents, and they shouldn't have. And also, they're opening up for unauthorized practice of law. So it's like, I'm trying to work both sides.
So do you work with copywriters? So copywriters who, are asked to do the copy on a site, and they come to the privacy, page or the terms of use page, and I'll draft it,
And I'll give it to
I know,
the
but
client.
do you get referrals from copywriters who do websites? But
Right, it could be the website designers, the copywriters, it could be the agencies themselves. And again, catering to that small medium business that by no fault of their own, they don't know what they don't know, and unfortunately, what they don't know will hurt them.
right. I think maybe you know Gene Tang of Market Smith's copywriting agency.
No, I don't think so.
Try to connect with them.
So the beauty of what I do is it applies to everybody, regardless of size, location, product or service. It doesn't matter. Especially if you have a website, you are no longer a mom and pop. Now you are officially advertising nationally and internationally. So you really need to be compliant. You
All right,
don't
let's consider getting back to this. I know Rajiv had that question. I don't think there's anybody else except for me. I didn't leave anybody off, right? I didn't skip anybody. Okay,
No.
I'll do my 3-minute pitch. So of course, thank you everybody for coming. My name is Michael Bendit, as you know. I'll tell you a story about a client that I have. So top line is I represent software development teams, and my teams build websites. We do e-commerce sites, we do mobile applications. And a lot of our business comes from partnering with marketing agencies who don't always have those resources in-house. Maybe they do search engine optimization, but they don't actually build sites. Or maybe they do content writing, but they don't build sites. Or maybe they do a couple things, and they may even have some programmers in-house, but they come across an opportunity for which they don't have the right skills or for which they don't have enough availability. I recently got an inquiry from a marketing consultant. She's a solo consultant. She works, one of her clients is a high-end furniture manufacturer. I think I've mentioned them, and I think I may have shown some of the work one of my teams does. So it's a 3D rendering team. A little sort of on the periphery of software development. It's more design, but it's a unique, very technical type of design. And they have been building visualizing or rendering their products before they're even built. So this company likes to have design a product, render it, put it on their website, and then if people buy it, then they make it. And since they're $20,000 to $100,000 pieces of furniture, it doesn't make sense to have a lot of those things in inventory, and people are willing to wait. So I have a team that's doing the 3D rendering. And recently that same consultant said, oh my God, the website needs some help too. So they have a basic WordPress website. Actually, I shouldn't say it's basic. It's fairly sophisticated, but it is a WordPress website. And another of my teams is now taken over managing that website. So now it's more integrated, even though it's two different teams, I'm the connector. And just recently they decided, we want to take these 3D models and create a configurator, the ability for the customer to say, I want this table, but I want this shaped tabletop, because they offer 3 different shaped tabletops with beveled edges, without, different wood grains, different metal bases. Turns out the number of configurations is about 360. So you need to have something where the customer can actually see what those options look like. And you certainly can't take pictures because you're not going to produce 360 versions. And it's even expensive to build or to render 360 different models. So I have another team that is likely to be hired, hasn't been done yet, to build the configurator, which is a unique sort of skill set for manipulating 3D objects in real time. So some great leads for me are marketing agencies, small marketing agencies, maybe up to 20 people, that are in the digital space, but don't always have the right resources in-house for the technical side. And we usually, the agency will do the design work and we'll build it. So we're following their design direction. And so that works quite well. Okay, let's switch to gallery view again. First of all, thank you all for coming. Is there any topics that folks want to discuss? I mean, we did touch on Rajiv's question about the trademark and the fact that it wasn't being used. And I think Audrey gave us some interesting feedback on now you can challenge that without a lawyer. Of course, you could hire a lawyer like Audrey, which will help you challenge it.
If you're in front of the USPTO, you need a lawyer, a US lawyer.
Oh, you need a US lawyer, so she could do. Okay, so you do need a lawyer to challenge it.
But you do it all in front of the USPTO, right?
Okay.
So, I mean, technically, yeah, you could do your own paperwork, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's
Okay.
not an easy site to maneuver, and you have to submit, you need to know what to submit for what.
Any other comments, questions on that topic or other topics that folks want to discuss? We've got about 13 minutes to the top of the hour.
Yeah, I guess, so one of the updates for me is I'm kind of like relaunching an old podcast project, and I'm using this platform called Anchor, which was recently acquired by Spotify. So I guess the question to the group is, are there other platforms out there similar to Anchor that allows you to record, produce, distribute, podcasts? And also, are you aware of any, easy to use software that allows you to edit the sound and all that stuff for the purposes of a podcast?
I think that question was asked on Mosaic podcast management platforms. Are you a member of Mosaic?
Yeah.
Take a look through the archives on the Google group. I think somebody had asked about podcast platforms recently. And then audio. There are audio engineers. Do you know David Hoffman, who does podcasts?
Name sounds vaguely familiar.
His business, Citizen Race Car, they're a podcast producer.
All right, yeah. Names, yeah, definitely remember that name.
Yeah, I would ping him. You could, certainly use my name. I'm in a networking group with him.
Okay.
But yeah, you need somebody who knows sound management. Another guy who's in the group, Andre Archambault.
Oh yeah, I know Andre, yeah.
Andre has a sound engineering background.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he does voiceovers himself. He's also very talented in the sound world, even though that's not his main business.
Oh, okay. I know that he was the host and producer for a podcast for USA Today for a while.
Right. Because he does sound really well. He does know sound.
Okay, cool. That's awesome.
Other thoughts for Rajiv or anything? Any questions?
I don't know how commercial your podcast would be, Rajiv, but Norm Pattis, who founded Westwood One, runs Podcast One. So that's another possibility for you. It's an advertiser-supported podcast network.
Oh, Podcast One?
Podcast One.
Okay.
I think it depends how sophisticated you want it to be too, Rajiv. When I researched it, I went on to Clubhouse and listened to a bunch of professional podcasters and people who help other people become podcasters, and found that, you can get an app on your iPad or your iPhone, and you can launch a podcast, and you can put it up on blogtalkradio.com, and overnight, there you go. Everything's, locked and loaded like Anchor. And there are other ones like Anchor. Or you can, go the route like a Joseph Jaffe. Joseph Jaffe is not famous on YouTube, and he has, the Rodecaster. He has the fancy microphone, all the bells and whistles, and that can cost you close to $1,000. So, it just depends. My microphone is like, the blue microphone, right? I think it's a couple $100, but it's not breaking the bank. These headphones, and then I downloaded the Boss Audio app, I think it's called, on the iPad, and I produced podcasts for clients years ago, and they were very happy with them. Music overlay, the whole thing. If somebody wants to do an NPR style, like when we work for the Boston Consulting Group, you can't get away with that. They actually rented a recording studio in San Francisco. I hired a real producer. It was quite a production. It was NPR quality sound, NPR quality production. It was phenomenal. That we just wrote the script for. So that's above and beyond my pay grade. But that's just a different way to look at it.
Right. There's a whole range. And I'm sure even on, I'm sure there's lots of videos on YouTube, how to start your own podcasting, what type of platforms.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. There's so many, Michael, so many good ones. Just how to start a podcast, how to podcast.
Right. Probably huge.
Awesome. Thank you, David.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you, Michael.
Absolutely. Audrey, you're raising your hand, but you're on mute.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I mean, I wanted to share, if anybody's interested, some stories from my clients to give you an idea of what, some red flags.
Sure. Stories from red flags on legal compliance.
Yeah.
Sure.
Absolutely. So 2 quick stories. One is I was about to file a trademark for a client. And when it went back to the agency, the advertising agency who created the logo, right? I can't file it unless my client owns it and the person that creates it owns the trademark or the copyright. So I needed her to sign off on transferring the rights of the trademark to my client so I can file a trademark. Well, long story short, she couldn't transfer it because she bought the wrong license from Shutterstock, and she hadn't changed what she had downloaded enough to make it a different a different logo. So she made some changes, but the changes weren't enough to make it different enough where she could own it, right? So because she downloaded it, she bought the wrong license from Shutterstock. That's number one. And number two, she didn't own it because she bought the wrong licensing and she didn't make the changes required. And there's nothing on the law that tells you what percentage of the changes are required, because somebody kept telling me that. So that was one problem. So obviously we couldn't file it because my client.
It's amazing that this was a designer who basically took something off Shutterstock and tweaked it and said it's their own work.
But if you look at what's on Shutterstock and what she tweaked, it was basically the same thing. So no, couldn't do that. So that's one. And then another one was reviewing Spanish compliance of a privacy policy in Spanish, right? So the English document came from a big firm. So I'm reviewing the Spanish translation to make sure it is legally compliant. And I'm going through it and I keep seeing HIPAA. I'm like, I couldn't figure out why there was so much HIPAA language on this privacy policy, because my client does nothing HIPAA related. So it didn't make any sense. So finally I went back to the client and I said, do you do anything HIPAA related? Do you sell anything HIPAA related? Is there anything remotely attached to HIPAA? They're like, no, absolutely not. So of course I had to tell them what was going on, what I saw in the Spanish compared to the English, and both versions have the HIPAA language. And I'm like, well, why would you want a privacy policy that opens you up to greater legal liability by talking about HIPAA, having all this HIPAA language, when you don't even do HIPAA, you don't even collect any such information, but it's in your privacy policy. So as long as it's in your privacy policy, guess what? You're legal, you're responsible for it, right? So they went back to the big firm to find out why they did that. And what they got back from them was, oh, well, we just copy and pasted from this website.
And it was, and you
Had
said it
I
was a
not
big.
reviewed it, the client would have never known of the unnecessarily extended legal liability.
And this was a big agency or a big client? What was the?
The client is pretty decently like a medium. Yeah, it's, between medium and big. They're growing, and they're using a big firm. And I kept making corrections to the English so that I can finish the Spanish review. And then they keep going back to the other firm to make the corrections. And they're like, oh yeah, we copied that. Oh yeah, we got this from that. Oh, like, okay, you're a big firm. You shouldn't even be admitting you're copying and pasting from another website.
You're not going to tell us who this agency is, I guess.
Huh?
Are you going to tell us who the agency was?
No, I'm not going to tell you because it wasn't an agency.
Attorney-client
It
privilege.
wasn't
that's
the
right.
agency's fault. It was my client's fault for just taking whatever the big firm gave them and plopped it on their website and having it translated as such and neither be compliant.
Yeah.
So it was like, we wasted so much time going back and forth and fixing things. And of course it's costing them money because they got to keep going back to them and back to me and back to them and
Right.
back to me. But think about that excessive legal liability. Why would you want it on your website?
Right. All right, so let's wind it up. I'm going to share very quickly my screen because I want people to say share screen. I'm going to go to, this is trustref.net, of course. And we now have under events, seminars and networking, which is going to have the series. So this one, how to bounce back from ageism by developing a portfolio career. If you click on that, it will take you to the page that describes it. And then if you click on here, you can register for it on Zoom registration. And it is on the 16th at 5 p.m. Eastern, obviously 2 p.m. West Coast. And it is Marnie Gordon, who is a coach, a marketing coach, or coach for marketers. And she also works for the ANA, the the Association of National Advertisers, I think it's what it is, the Educational Foundation. So I think you'll find it interesting. Also, we are looking for this series, which we do in partnership with Serial Marketers, as you can see, is all about what's new in marketing. So technology, whatever, if you come across somebody who you think has something interesting that might want to do, that might want to be in this series. It will be similar. It's going to be more like a half-hour presentation and then a half-hour of networking. And it's only once a month. And it's in partnership with Serial Marketers, which you all might want to be a part of. If you don't know anything about Serial Marketers, look it up or ask me. And it is a Slack channel that is probably over 2,000 or 3,000 members right now and pretty active. Would love to see you there. And of course, if anybody has people who they think would benefit from being part of this network, certainly send them my way. Nedra, if you're interested, hit me up and we'll get you looped in so you're a regular member.
The link on that website, Michael, is just to grab the Zoom link. There's no registration, right?
It takes you to, this is the registration. So it takes you to this page, which is the registration page. So it's a lot like the registration page for this meeting.
Thank you.
It's actually Zoom registration so you can see it's a Zoom.
Yep.
Where did you say that that's name? Was it on Trusted Referral Network?
So if you go to Trusted Referral Network and the events
Tab.
events tab and seminars and networking.
Seminars and networking.
Yeah, the weekly meeting is here as well, of course.
Yeah.
And so you could, if you want, you could just go here and sign up for any of the weekly meetings.
So I'm on it. Where do you sign up on it?
So if you go to events seminars and networking. Just click on,
Yeah, I guess it's all clickable. All
it's
right.
clickable. So click the title and that'll take you to a link.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a series of links.
Thanks, Michael.
Absolutely. I tell people, if you've never experienced ageism, it's a lot like if you don't like the weather in Seattle, just wait, it'll change. If you've never experienced ageism, just wait, you'll get help.
But don't you have to register for this?
Yeah, you can register for it. Yeah, go to yeah, how to bounce back. Am I not sharing anymore? Sorry. Screen share.
Yeah, just click on the link, Scott, the bottom link where it says like the Zoom link, and that'll take you to a registration page. That one there, yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah, link to link. Sorry about that.
Cool.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a
Thank you.
wonderful rest of your week, and hopefully I'll see you in an upcoming meeting.
All right.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Michael.
Good to
Take
see
care.
everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Michael.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye.